Ever wondered why rewarding bad behavior leads to more of it, especially in relationships? Let's dive into this provocative topic. Picture this: a relationship where one person is consistently rewarded for their negative actions. More specifically, we're talking about situations where men reward women for their bad behavior. This can create a dangerous cycle that spirals out of control. In the next few minutes, we will explore why rewarding bad behavior in women can have serious consequences. To understand the consequences, first we need to understand what bad behavior means. In the context of a relationship, bad behavior can take many forms. It could be as subtle as manipulation, where one party uses deceit or coercion to control the other. Imagine a scenario where one person consistently uses guilt or emotional blackmail to get their way. That's manipulation, and it's a form of bad behavior. Then there's disrespect, which can manifest in different ways. It could be in the form of belittling, constant criticism, or dismissive attitudes. For instance, continually undermining your partner's decisions or opinions is a clear sign of disrespect. And let's not forget dishonesty. Lying, whether big or small, erodes trust in a relationship. Dishonesty can include anything from hiding truths, creating false narratives, to outright lying. It's a destructive form of bad behavior that can leave lasting scars. While it's true that anyone, regardless of gender, can exhibit these behaviors, our focus today is on women's bad behavior and how men respond to it. It's important to note that this is not about blaming or demonizing anyone. Instead, it's about understanding behaviors that can harm relationships and discussing how best to address them. Now that we know what bad behavior looks like, let's delve into the effects of rewarding it. Rewarding bad behavior is like adding fuel to a fire. It only makes things worse. It's an intriguing paradox, isn't it? Why would anyone knowingly encourage detrimental actions? Yet we often find ourselves in situations where we reward bad behavior without even realizing it. Let's delve into this cause and effect relationship a bit more. Imagine you're in a relationship where your partner consistently behaves in a way that disrespects or devalues you. However, instead of addressing the issue, you choose to ignore it, or worse, reward it. You might think you're keeping the peace, but what you're actually doing is reinforcing this behavior. Now, why does this happen? Well, it's all rooted in basic psychology. Human beings are creatures of habit. We respond to reinforcement. When someone's negative actions are met with positive responses, it sends a signal that their behavior is acceptable, even desirable. This is known as positive reinforcement. It's like giving a child a candy every time they throw a tantrum. They quickly learn that tantrums lead to treats, and thus the tantrums increase. But there's more to it. There's also something known as perceived acceptance. When bad behavior is not checked, it's perceived as being accepted. Over time, the person starts believing that their behavior is not just acceptable, but also the norm. This perception further fuels the cycle of bad behavior. Let's look at it from another angle. If you reward someone's bad behavior, you're also indirectly telling them that there are no consequences for their actions. This lack of accountability can lead to an escalation in such behavior. They might push the boundaries further, believing they can get away with anything. So, what we're seeing here is a vicious cycle. Rewarding bad behavior leads to more of the same, which then gets further reinforced by more rewards, and so on. It's a downward spiral that only gets worse over time. Rewarding bad behavior doesn't solve the problem. It exacerbates it. It's crucial to understand this cause and effect relationship. By rewarding bad behavior, you're not just enabling it, but you're also participating in its proliferation. It's a hard truth, but one that we must confront if we are to break this cycle. So what happens when we reward bad behavior? Let's find out. The consequences of rewarding bad behavior are far-reaching and detrimental. It's akin to opening Pandora's box. Once open, it's difficult to contain the fallout. The first casualty in this situation is respect. When bad behavior is rewarded, it sends a signal that there are no boundaries. It suggests that respect for oneself and the relationship is secondary to appeasing the other person. This can lead to a loss of respect, and once respect is lost, it's challenging to regain. The second consequence is an increase in manipulation. When someone realizes that their bad behavior is not only tolerated but rewarded, it can lead to an increase in such behavior. It's human nature to repeat actions that yield positive results. If bad behavior is getting rewarded, it's likely to become more frequent and more intense. This can foster a manipulative dynamic where the person behaves badly to get what they want, knowing full well that there will be no consequences. Moreover, this cycle can cause significant damage to the relationship. It creates an imbalance where one person's bad behavior is continually rewarded, while the other person is left feeling disrespected and manipulated. This can lead to resentment, frustration, and eventually the breakdown of the relationship. Let's remember that women, like anyone else, respect those who stand up for themselves and their values. They appreciate a partner who can assert their boundaries and communicate their needs effectively. Rewarding bad behavior sends the opposite message. It implies that one's values and boundaries can be compromised for the sake of keeping peace. So, what does this all boil down to? Essentially, rewarding bad behavior fosters a toxic cycle of disrespect, manipulation, and damage to the relationship. It's a short-term solution that leads to long-term problems. It's clear that rewarding bad behavior leads to negative outcomes. But what can we do instead? Let's explore that in our next segment. The answer is simple. Don't reward bad behavior. Stand your ground. It's about setting boundaries, clear lines that signify respect and mutual understanding. You see, it's not about being aggressive or confrontational. It's about voicing out what you feel, honestly and constructively. It's about saying no when no is what you mean. It's about understanding that your feelings are valid and that your worth is non-negotiable. It's about standing up for yourself, not as a battle, but as an assertion of your dignity. It's about realizing that you have a voice, and that voice deserves to be heard. Respect yourself. It's not just about demanding respect from your partner. It's about respecting yourself first. Because when you respect yourself, you set the standard for how others should respect you. And when you stand up for yourself, you teach others how to treat you. Remember, rewarding bad behavior doesn't lead to a healthy relationship. Stand up for yourself and demand the respect you deserve.